The cabin went silent as two security officers stormed down the aisle. A quiet black man sat near the window, hands folded, eyes calm, but the flight attendant pointed straight at him. "That's him," she said. "He refused to follow orders." Passengers watched in disbelief as he was dragged out of his seat, shouted at, and humiliated in front of everyone. Phones recorded. No one intervened. But as they forced him off the plane, he said just 6 words that froze them all. "Call your supervisor. I'm with the FBI." What happened next ended careers. The flight to Denver was nearly full when Agent Malcolm Reed boarded. Dressed simply, he carried only a briefcase and a calm presence. He smiled politely to the flight attendant and took his seat by the window. No one would have guessed he'd spent the last 10 years undercover for the FBI. In seat 7B sat Cliff Henson, a wealthy consultant known for his arrogance. He eyed Malcolm as the plane filled up, then whispered to the attendant, "Watch that guy. He looks off." She frowned, uncertain. "Sir, he's just sitting." "I've flown enough to know trouble," Cliff muttered. Minutes later, when Malcolm politely asked for water, the same attendant stiffened. "You'll have to wait until after takeoff," she said curtly. He nodded, unbothered. But Cliff smirked. "See? Already demanding things." The tension spread like wildfire. When the crew did their safety checks, Cliff raised his hand. "Excuse me, but the man by the window's been acting suspicious. He keeps checking his briefcase." Malcolm sighed quietly. "It contains my identification and case files," he said. Cliff chuckled. "Sure it does." Within minutes, the cabin buzzed. Words like threat, strange, and dangerous began circulating. The flight attendant radioed the cockpit. By the time the captain came over the speaker, "Please remain seated while we resolve a safety concern." Half the passengers were staring at him. Malcolm closed his eyes. He'd seen this play out before. Accusation without evidence, judgment without pause. Then came the command. "Sir, please step into the aisle." He looked up at the 2 approaching security officers. "Is there a problem?" One replied sharply, "We received a report you may be carrying restricted materials." "From whom?" "Please cooperate." He stood slowly, voice steady. "I will. But I suggest you verify before you regret." The taller guard smirked. "Is that a threat?" "No, it's advice." They grabbed his arm anyway. Passengers gasped as they pulled him toward the exit. Phones filmed from every angle. A woman whispered, "Why are they dragging him like that?" As they reached the front of the cabin, the captain appeared at the door. "We can't take off until this is handled." Cliff stood smugly in the aisle, arms folded. "Told you he was trouble." Malcolm looked at him calmly. "Be careful who you call trouble." Outside the jet bridge, the officers pushed him against the wall. "Empty your briefcase." He opened it slowly, revealing only papers, credentials, and a phone. One guard snorted. "What is this supposed to prove?" Malcolm's tone never changed. "Everything." He reached into the inner pocket of his jacket and pulled out a black leather wallet. The first officer stepped forward impatiently, then froze when he saw the gold badge. "Special Agent Malcolm Reed," Malcolm said evenly. "Federal Bureau of Investigation. Counterterrorism Division." Both guards stepped back instantly. The lead officer's mouth opened, but no sound came. You're FBI?" "Yes. And you've just detained a federal agent mid-assignment because you acted on a civilian's bias." The flight attendant, who had followed them out, went pale. "Oh my God." Malcolm's phone buzzed. He answered calmly. "Yes, Director. I'm still here. Seems your agents at Denver PD need retraining." He paused, listening. "Yes, I'll stay until Internal Affairs arrives." Within minutes, airport security chiefs rushed into the gate area. One by one, officers saluted him. The same people who'd dragged him now stood frozen, realizing they'd profiled their superior. Passengers in the cabin were still filming when federal marshals entered the plane to escort Cliff Henson off in handcuffs. The captain's voice broke over the intercom, trembling. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've experienced a severe misunderstanding. Inside the terminal, reporters had already gathered. Someone's live stream had reached national news. The footage of Malcolm being pulled off the plane was now trending under Yacker dragged an FBI, but Malcolm wasn't interested in revenge. When the airline's CEO called personally to apologize, he said only, "Save it. Apologize to the people you profile daily who don't have badges to protect them." By evening, every officer and crew member involved was suspended pending investigation. Cliff Henson's company released a statement distancing themselves from his behavior inconsistent with company values. His billion-dollar contract dissolved overnight. A week later, Malcolm sat quietly in his office at Quantico. His supervisor, Deputy Director Miles, entered. "You could have sued them, Malcolm." He shook his head. "The goal isn't punishment. It's prevention." Miles nodded. "The Bureau wants you to lead our new Civil Integrity Task Force, train law enforcement nationwide on bias response." Malcolm smiled faintly. "Then let's start with airports." Months passed. Under his guidance, major airlines adopted new anti-profiling protocols. Cabin crews received psychological training to identify bias-based decision-making. Security teams learned de-escalation over ego. The Department of Transportation even named the reform the Reed Protocol. One afternoon, Malcolm stood at a press conference beside the Secretary of Transportation. Reporters flashed cameras. A journalist called out, "Agent Reed, what message do you want to send to the public?" He paused, looking straight into the lenses. "That suspicion without evidence isn't security. It's fear pretending to be authority. And fear has no place at 30,000 feet. The audience applauded. Later that night, he boarded another flight. Quietly, anonymously. The same calm presence, same small briefcase. As the plane took off, the flight attendant smiled at him respectfully. Malcolm nodded, then looked out the window at the lights below. The world had changed a little since that day, not because he shouted, but because he didn't. And somewhere in every security office across the country, new posters carried his quote in bold letters, "Power isn't proven by control, it's revealed by composure." That night, the man once dragged off a plane closed his eyes and finally rested, flying higher than prejudice ever could. If you believe real power doesn't shout, it stands tall, prove it. Like this video, share it everywhere, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from and which moment hit you hardest. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss stories where truth outranks arrogance and justice flies highest.